Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and with me as always on Mondays is Taylor from the Willingham Law Firm. How's it going?
It's going good.
So Jeff wasn't able to join us today, but he is busy actually making money. so,
Yeah.
so that's all right. We'll that's what this is all about is wealth preservation and making money. So let me actually real quick. Let me show people where to find you. So here is the estate planning. Let's see. Let me share my screen real quick. There we go. All right. All right. So this is Taylor's law firm in McKinney, Texas, where he does wills, trusts, small business formation, things like that. Been down there for quite some time now, about a decade or two. So, very well established and very well respected. Even ran for mayor of McKinney, Texas, not too long ago. So, if you're looking for somebody to help you out with your will or trust, WG Law is a great place to go to. And then also we got WG Plan, which is the joint. Oh, excuse me. That actually brought us to the same thing. WG Plan. There we go. This is the joint website where him and Texas Jeff, or TradFi Jeff, who is it's not a licensed financial advisor, but
Certified financial advisor, CFP.
certified financial advisor. Basically, the lawyer version of a financial investor. So he's been at it for decades as well, and they together basically created a package of start to finish, just ways that you can generate wealth through traditional investments, and then of course Taylor does the aspect of how to protect that wealth through wills, trust, small business formation, things like that. So, anything you want to add to that before we move on?
No, that's it.
Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and jump on into this. I know right now the markets are very interesting. Traditional markets, especially the Magnificent Seven, gold, silver, precious metals, are all doing really well. Crypto is very much down, and we are starting to see signs and talk of quantitative easing, starting to see the money printer starting to turn on, and they're trying to stimulate the economy. So, I mean, what are you seeing since we talked last week? How things have evolved or changed, or kind of what are you seeing?
Um, so there's some issues. Like the real big issues are that the government, of course, things are a lot worse than they're saying because um, they no longer report on key important things because of Trump's ego. He can't stand that things aren't going great, and so they're just not reporting it. And so we have a lot of issues around the fact that there's not good data coming out from the government about what's really going on. We have the highest unemployment um, since COVID, but I think if you go back before COVID, it's past 2018 levels, and so you have this big issue. Now, of course, when you look out in the market, you're like, oh my gosh, things, precious metals are going way up and everything like that. Well, just so you guys understand what's going on with silver, silver is a crazy issue because of just last, well, I don't know if it came out before this, but about a month ago, Samsung
Oh, that
basically,
battery.
yeah, the new technology that requires a ton of silver, and we don't have that much silver right now, even close to what we would need. But basically, one of the issues of charging your car and why electric vehicles aren't popular is because you go fill up with gas. It takes you, what, 3 minutes to fill up your whole tank? But if you're going to do your battery, it's 20 minutes. Well, there's these things called dendrites that are caused if you
I was
charge
just looking that up.
Yeah, and so if you charge too quickly, it ruins your battery basically, and it can cause it to explode. Well,
because it basically creates, the dendrites are the like spikes that form, and the membrane between the cells in batteries, it destroys that membrane, and it also makes it to where and they generate faster and larger if you try to charge too quickly.
yeah,
And so that's in a nutshell, kind of what dendrites are.
yeah, and so basically, I guess Samsung came up with a new technology that if we put silver on these and line everything, then it doesn't have any of these problems. And that would require massive, massive amounts of silver in order to rebuild these things. I guess Toyota has come on board that they're going to do it in their vehicles. So all the other car companies are going to have to jump on board. And this really changes EV, where actually electric vehicle looks like is going to be more efficient and effective than having a gas-powered vehicle.
Well, what I wonder about that though still is, kind of the lack of infrastructure. And not to say that, this can't be overcome, just as it stands now. I know that, power grids, down in Texas, I know it's a huge issue. Up here, where I'm at, during inclement weather, obviously we get a lot of outages with trees getting blown down, stuff, that sort of thing. And then I know that a lot of the transformers, the national stockpile for transformers, Biden gave our whole stockpile to the Ukraine to rebuild their power infrastructure. So we have a lot of infrastructure issues that we need to address, as well as power generation, because we're already having issues with the data centers and AI, and the growth there, the Bitcoin mining, just a lot of draw and not a whole lot of production, because for a while there, atomic energy was bad, coal was bad, everything had to be solar and wind, and we found out that doesn't keep up with the demand. So I just want to throw that in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so America has a really big problem, and that is while we right now have all the brain power and all the desire to really push forward and move to the next stage, our government hasn't invested anything in the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And we can't really move forward with AI because the problem is going to become power. So I imagine ultimately when this bottleneck hits and AI starts causing people's power to go up significantly, that you're going to see more like, in Tennessee, they had this issue. There's a few cities that, basically have refused AI plants to be built because of the power problem. But there really isn't anything moving through quickly enough, even though we have the technology. We really do have the technology to build small nuclear power plants, completely efficient nuclear power plants. Just nothing, everything is gridlock in Washington, and China doesn't have these issues. I don't know if you get a lot of propaganda about China, but if you go out there and really look up, China looks like a future country. I mean, you look at their cities, they have robots walking around now. I mean, they are really going to eat our lunch here. And the real boom is going to be who gets robots out the fastest, because that's just going to propel a society faster than anything. And so in America, while we do have the financial markets, that's basically it. And we do not have any leadership that can really lead us into the future right now. Our Congress and the president and everybody up there is just trash. I mean, they're really they really have no means of actually getting along and getting the things done that need to get done. And that's a reflection of us. We put them in power. So ultimately, I don't know where America's going with this. And so, yeah, that's a perfect example right there.
Yeah, no, because they don't care about CO2. They're not looking at clean energy. They're looking at producing electricity to fuel their economy.
Yeah, and
And
like we really don't care about clean energy either. We have the ability to do it. Like right now, like we have the technology that we can make nuclear power plants that uh, that can actually reuse the waste that it produces, and we can't even get that out there. So um, we have a lot of issues. But so if you look at the silver chart, yeah, silver is at all-time highs, but the reason why people are projecting it to go much higher than it currently is going to go. Once again, I'm not telling you should go invest in silver right now. I'm invested very heavily in it, just because it's supply and demand. And the banks basically on Friday lost the battle. And because if you weren't aware of this, banks were shorting and they have significant problems because they have to have a certain amount of silver in stockpile in order to hold these future contracts that people are buying. And so I wish I would have known about this earlier because I'm invested heavily in the SLV. There's a thing called the PSLV that is an actual organization. It's not as large, but they actually hold the silver that they say that they have.
I just have a bunch of like kilo stacker silver bars in my safe.
Yeah, you can't really go buy silver right now. Everybody, there's basically, I think what's about to happen is I think you're going to see two things, and this also applies to Bitcoin. I think you're going to see the government get involved in silver. It's going to drive down the price of it, and they're going to start confiscating people's silver, saying for national emergency reasons, because of technology. And so they're going to outlaw people being able to buy silver. And so you're going to see that happen here pretty soon. In the next, I'm not saying this year or next year, but it's going to happen because the problem is
national security.
well, in reality, silver, that makes sense why you're doing it because it actually needs to be used to build things. Like if
Oh, it's
everybody,
used in everything. It's used in electronics, solar panels, medicinal, as a preservative. I mean, there's all kinds of things that silver's used for.
and then I think what they're setting up for, because here's something that really scares me about crypto. And that is the government keeps coming out and saying, "Oh, we're going to buy, we're going to buy, we're going to get these reserves of Bitcoin. We're going to do it. We're going to do it in the future." That's often a setup for a rug pull. What they do is they come out and they'll have some press release, and they're going to say, "We're not going to buy any Bitcoin," and you're going to see crypto just tank.
And then they buy.
And they're gonna be buying behind the scenes. And so if you think, do I think crypto is going to go back down? Yes, because now that's a belief of mine. I don't have any evidence for that. I just know how our government works. I know how the wealthy work, and I believe that's going to be the next big ploy. Is they're going to keep because they keep coming out saying we're going to do this, but then where's the legislation? Where is it? And you don't see anything really actually happening behind the scenes. Well, the government doesn't play that game. The wealthy don't play that game unless they're attempting to try to manipulate the markets in some way. Because if they really just are going to do a Bitcoin reserve, they wouldn't publicly announce it. They would just do it.
No, and that's exactly, kind of the way that I invest. And I'm by far not the perfect investor, but that's usually what I look at because I like investing long term. And I've been stacking silver since I was in my early teens. Kind of got hooked when a buddy of mine owed me $5, and he gave me a Morgan silver dollar. And I just thought it was super cool because it was, made in the 1800s. And I still have that original, silver dollar that I got. And just since then, just whenever I got some extra money, I've, put it into either rounds or collectible coins, coins that have actual, precious metals in them,
Yeah.
or, the bars, different, 1 ounce, rounds, stackable bars, kilos, whatever, and just invested long term. When that COVID dip happened, it went down to about $12. I loaded up some more because it went from like 30 something bucks to $12. And I saw an opportunity, but yeah, I ran a precious metals shop when I first got out of the military, and collectible coin shop for a buddy of mine for probably about 6-7 months, and learned a ton about grading coins and precious metals and just kind of the history of all of that. And it's a lot of people like to have that argument, like, which is better, it's all Bitcoin or all precious metals. To me, they both make sense. Bitcoin being digital, it makes it a lot easier. It's a lot more liquid to use it. It's a finite supply. There's only the 21 million. There can't be any more minted. It's a great place to store some value. But some gold and silver in the safe, if you're kind of a prepper like I am, is a nice warm feeling to have, because if everything went to shit and nothing electrical was working, I can still, with the people that live around me, they know the value of gold and silver. I can give them, physical gold and silver, and I can get goods and services. I can get meat, I can get eggs, I can get whatever I need. Whereas, your phone and your Apple Pay may not be working. So, it's not that it needs to be an apocalypse, but if the power's out, for an extended period of time, it allows me to still, buy, be able to buy things. So I don't like getting into, maximalist mindsets on any one investment. And I see it a lot. People, you see it with Michael Saylor and Peter Schiff. They're always going toe to toe about, gold's better, Bitcoin's better. And it's just comedy to me because I own both. But, I mean, do you own any physical precious metals?
No, I don't know the physical one. For me, it's uh, like for me, like I understand like silver makes sense to own physically. Gold for me, I don't think in the next if all society fell apart, I don't think people are going to trade gold. Uh, I I think we're in a society now where it's like, yeah, maybe that will happen 30 years into the future, but the reality of the situation is if society did really fall apart, um, you're going to run into the bigger problem of nobody knows how to even grow anything. Like it's we don't have any ability to actually function. Like Michael, you could survive. Yeah, but you're going to have hordes of gangs roaming around, just mass murdering people. Like,
Oh yeah, no, people. I mean, you can look at history and see that. I mean,
right, I
you
mean,
look at Hurricane Katrina, down in Louisiana and whatnot. It only took like a week or two, and you had people looting and shooting at National Guard helicopters that were trying to rescue people off roofs. They weren't even trying to bust the people that were looting; they were just trying to rescue people, and they were getting shot at. So, what do you think it's going to look like if we don't if power goes out for a month and you don't have any
yeah,
refrigeration for food, or you can't move goods and services, and people that need insulin that needs to be refrigerated isn't available. It's things people don't realize, and I say this a lot on the channel. People don't realize how fragile our way of life is, and the more comfortable your way of life is, the more fragile it is.
yep. And that is like, yeah, your best advice ever was buy bullets because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, uh, you can trade those.
And they go up in value. I started buying ammo when like 5.56 was like 15 cents a round, 10 cents a round. It's like 50 cents a round now. I mean, it's like buying gold or silver.
I know.
It's just the price keeps going up. And you're right. You can trade it to anybody because it has multiple uses. It
Yeah.
can protect you, it can feed you, I mean, that's what you want. So yeah.
And so then, um, but another thing that I've just been working on. So one of the things, and I'm hoping he can get this together for Bitcoin. But one way that we invest people's money is we use hedge fund tactics on trend investing. So most hedge funds use trends to determine when to get in and out of the market.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's why hedge funds can, certain ones of them outperform the market is because they're following trends. And so Jeff is he's very aware of a certain program that he has used for many years that has, consistently outperformed the market. And he's rebuilt that system and added a little bit different twist for himself where he knows other hedge funds because Jeff, he's part of a hedge fund right now, but kind of has a little sweet spot knowledge because Jeff talks to everybody and he kind of figures things out and how people are doing something. But he believes that it also can be applied to Bitcoin, and so he's going to build out that system for us so we can put it into the newsletter.
Jeff has been orange pilled.
So
those of you that don't know, me and Taylor have been talking to Jeff, who of course is a very entrenched TradFi guy about crypto for a while now, and trying to get him into DeFi and into crypto, and I think we've drug him in, reluctantly, kicking and screaming, but I think he's understanding the potential
yeah,
of Bitcoin and crypto and how it could be part of the future financial system. There's still, as bullish as I am on crypto, there's still a lot of question marks. I'll admit it.
yeah. I mean, it is going to be the system of the future. Personally, it probably will be taken over by the current financial system.
Oh yeah.
But there are going to be certain things that will be around, and that are around today. But most of the crypto that's in existence today will become obsolete, and the banking industry will come in and say they'll outlaw a lot of it, and just the Fed will make sure that their system gets put in.
They're just basically they're going to make sure legislation. It's the same thing that I saw when in the military and in the government. Whenever there's like job openings, they write the position to match the person that they want to hire, and and I mean a specific person. Like they'll talk to the person and be like, okay, you have this education and this experience, and they just tailor it. And it's the same thing. You're seeing it with legislation. The chosen ones have been working with legislators in the government. You see Coinbase is doing it. They're a perfect example. They're sitting at the table in Washington and they're helping draft, they're the liaison that's helping draft this legislation. Circle, that, is the owner of USDC. They're sitting at the table. And the Genius Act, the Stablecoin Act that got passed and signed into law, they were an integral part of that. And it was put in there that stable coins to be compliant in the US had to be backed 1-to-1 with either the US dollar or a US dollar equivalent. And it was something that USDC was already doing. And it was a question mark for Tether. Tether says they have these reserves, but they haven't been, fully audited and fully transparent. And so there's a lot of question marks there. So you can see that USDC is the one that's getting a very entrenched foothold in the US, whereas USDT is kind of more worldwide. But you're seeing everything that Coinbase is doing, everything that Circle is doing. Anybody that wants to operate inside the US, they're aligning themselves with USDC, and that's why you're seeing all this news of USDC being launched on all these different networks. So, and connecting to each other. Tron connected to Base, Plume is connected to Base, and Ethereum by proxy. and a bunch of other ones are connected. So you're starting to see this network, like Taylor was talking about, form with the chosen projects, and 95% or more of crypto projects that aren't part of the good old boy system, this kind of network that's being formed, they're going to go away. And the trick right now is to find those gems that are the ones that are going to be, the Google, the Microsoft, the Amazon of the new financial system. So that's my speech.
Yeah. So, and it's going to be what's connected to the market, because the powers that be are going to make sure that the system stays. And, and people get all upset about the system, but it's also brought about, uh, the most prosperous times that we've ever seen. That's one of the things that people get, you get a little too negative about. We live in the greatest time to ever live. All right. Everything is pretty amazing. Uh, the difficulties that we talk about today would be luxuries in the past. So um, it's like you live at a great time. The financial systems and everything that were put into place, yes, they benefit certain people, but at the same time, uh, they have built this world into a place where we can all work together and we don't run into big problems that in the past, where it was a lot more difficult to just, travel, do things, because, you could have your coin from your empire, but it wasn't going to be recognized in another one. And so now we live in a society, you can get on a plane, you can go pretty much anywhere in the world, and people, you're going to have a way to get money, you're going to have a way to pay for things and to interact with people. And so while we complain, we do live in the greatest time to ever live.
Absolutely. I mean, people that are considered poor nowadays live a better quality of life than the wealthy used to back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, having air conditioning, indoor plumbing, being able to flip a switch and the light comes on, refrigeration, just, the internet, you have access to the entirety of human knowledge. Somehow I think society has gotten a little bit stupider than they have been in the past somehow, but we won't delve into that. This is one that I've been watching for a while and done a couple of deep dives on the channel. Is this Canton Network, and they've been building for like the past decade. A lot of people think it's a new project, but they've been building for a decade now. And on launch, I mean, if you go to rwa.xyz, they have like $400 billion of TVL already. And almost daily, they are coming out with announcements where, the DTCC is in partnerships with them and actively tokenizing stocks. There's, this Fairmint, they launched, and this is an institutional network that is meant to be the network that connects siloed or independent networks like banks, institutions, things like that, with an integrated privacy layer so that everything's not transparent, because that privacy is something that institutions, governments, banks is a must. They can't have everybody seeing what everybody's doing with their money. Wealthy people and institutions don't want to tip their hand of where they're sending money and who they're sending money to. You don't want people to see what you're doing with your money, and that's the way open blockchains are. Like if I send Taylor Bitcoin, or some other crypto, if you know our wallet addresses, you can see exactly what we're doing. Institutions don't want that. So there is going to be, certain, I think, legislation that is going to make a lot of this mandatory. KYC, anti-money laundering, and know your customer. There's a lot of these things that are going to need to be, part of these projects if they're going to be a part of the future financial system. It doesn't matter how fast they are. It doesn't matter, the TPS, or if it's modular, or how sexy it is, or whatever volume is on that chain, or how much it's being used. It's going to matter compliance. if it's regulatory compliant. That's all they care about. So
Yeah. Too many crypto projects.
yeah.
Really, that's I think the problem with crypto is like there's always projects like the one that I really, because you had Kevin on your show,
Yeah.
I can tell you like if they get that and launch it, that's going to be a huge, because this is my biggest problem with a lot of these crypto ideas and different things is what is the actual value that they're actually providing to society.
Well, and
And
how do they get that value back to token holders?
yeah, and
You know,
like
that's because crypto isn't a stock. The SEC Ripple lawsuit, for the most part, settled that.
yeah,
That
and
and then the SEC came out recently and said if something is a security before it's tokenized, it's a security after. If it wasn't a security before it's tokenized, it's not a security after. Pretty simple.
yeah, like the real world asset. Okay, that makes sense to me of actual value, but like, oh, this crypto is doing this and it's more efficient. Well, with AI now, and in a year, someone's going to have something better.
Yeah.
If someone's going to invent a technology that's better, faster, more efficient, and so it's like all these tech guys want to keep creating these tech ideas, but at the end of the day, it's like you're not really inventing a new technology, you're making something more efficient or something along those lines. What really needs to happen is people need to come into the crypto space and actually add value, where Kevin and Jason with their and Jeff with their litigation financing fund, which is, hey, we're going to actually go out and invest in cases, and we're going to pay that money back into the people that hold, the tokens.
We need to actually plan. After they launch. When I was talking to him, he was saying January was what they were shooting for. But after they launch and things settle down, I told him I wanted to do another episode. We should have Jeff and Kevin and his whole crew and you on, and to discuss kind of how the launch went and how kind of how it goes.
Yeah, because there's already somebody that does this in Europe. They already have a version of it, but there's a very big difference. The group in Europe are all tech guys. They're just tech guys, and they have legal counsel that tells them what to invest in. Kevin and Jason are unique in the sense of they are big time trial attorneys that actually co-counsel in the actual cases. So one of the problems with litigation financing has become is lawyers have found out that, well, if I can make money just keeping this case going, because when I settle it, then the money goes away. So there's not an eagerness to actually move these cases forward. So litigation financing at the beginning was great because the lawyers didn't really understand the concept here. They were like, hey, yeah, help, pay us, give us our money, and and let's move this along. And they were settling these cases, and everybody was giving high fives, like this was great. We were able to take on this big company that we wouldn't be able to do. Well, now the lawyers have wised up and they understand, well, once you settle the case, you don't make any more money. So Kevin and Jason are different because they co-counsel and they'll take the case from the law firm if they're not moving it forward.
Yeah, no, and this is the interview that I did with him about a little over a month ago. But it's very niche, but it is a very interesting use case, and I definitely plan on trying to get invest in it, just because I like the idea of almost and forgive me if this is the wrong terminology, but earning dividends to where you can invest in it, and then just as they're winning lawsuits, you actually get a return. So it's something that you can invest in, and money just trickles in from it from time to time.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of investing that I like, because I'm in retirement and I just want to build, kind of grow my, monthly income.
Oh yeah. The bigger part about it is you own part of a law firm. Like Like it's an actually legitimate law firm that's going to be running that will be part of these cases, and it's a great way. Once I mean they're already running, they're already doing it. They've already settled cases. They've actually litigated cases themselves, and so this is something that already is moving through the system. And so, but yeah, if once it launches, it's something that people, the beginning rounds that they're going to launch, they're basically taking almost all the actual money and investing it. Mm-hmm. This isn't going, oh, well, you're buying a coin and really you're just buying out the guys that built it. It's not really attached to the company in any way. Like, you don't get to see any of the benefit.
Well, it's like XRP and Ripple. XRP is legally speaking, it's a gas token because again, the lawsuit, with Judge Torres ruled that XRP is not a security. Therefore, you don't own part of Ripple by holding XRP. Yeah. So, in a way, it was actually a loss for holders. I would have been more bullish on XRP if they ruled it a security and I owned part of Ripple, because I see very big things, happening for Ripple. I mean, they're buying up all kinds of companies and basically building themselves out to be a bank where, if it was a security, I'd own a piece of that, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but that's a great point. That's what people don't understand because they think when they buy a coin, they own something in this company. And they don't understand you don't own, it's not a security of the company. And so they have no obligations to you as a coin holder. Like no. The people that are running the business can literally just take all the money and keep it themselves.
Like, Ripple, they, monthly, they have I think it's 1 billion tokens unlock each month. A lot of times they relock, but if they need money for operations, they just dump XRP on the market and, sell it. And, and that's what they use to fund operations and to buy all these different companies. Yeah. And legally, I don't, if it was a security, I don't think that they would be allowed to do that.
No, not without, I mean, you have to go, you have a board, you have all these things and you have fiduciary duties to your shareholders. Mm-hmm. They don't have a fiduciary duty to you. They could just totally take the whole thing and take the money.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with that whole system where, Kevin and Jason, that's not what they're trying to do. They're actually trying to build it. So they're going to have contracts that basically say, hey, we are paying out this amount. Mm-hmm. When a case settles, you will get this amount. And and so they can't back out of that later on and go, hey, we changed our mind.
Well, it just happened with Aave. I mean, speaking of tokens and, holding a token is Aave. I don't understand all the ins and outs, but they used to go to the DAO. And recently they just announced that basically the Aave team is going to start keeping those tokens and basically just did it unilaterally. The DAO, it wasn't voted on is my understanding. I could be wrong. I just, read part of it this morning, but that's the thing with, no legislation and, without clarity, these crypto projects can do just about anything they want. That's why you have rug pulls and, all these different things is for the most part, unless there can be, some very obvious fraud or, or some sort of, legal leg to stand on, there's nothing you can do, and you really need to be careful about these crypto projects you're investing in.
Yeah. Maybe I would tell Kevin, that should be your first project that you invest in. To sue is go after these crypto companies and be like, hey, you say one thing to the public and then change your mind. You can't do that because there's still contractual laws that they have to follow.
Yeah.
You can't go out there and say, oh, well, this is how we're going to do it. Invest in my project. Oh, I changed my mind. Well, it's like,
actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea, to, start cleaning up crypto a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what they kind of want to do with the project is go. I mean, of course, they want to go after cases that they're confident, they're going to win. Like, and so because a lot of the way that they're building it out is they don't get paid until they get everybody's money back.
Well, there's right now, currently in court, there's a project on Solana called Pump.Fun that is it's not looking good. Like, and it's one of the major dexes on the Solana network. On DeFi Llama, it's actually shows as the biggest for revenue generation, and they're under heavy fire that they did some shady stuff to give advantages to the team and investors and things like that over retail. And I believe recently, it was last week, I saw some information to where the actual Solana team might be getting drug into that. So again, do your own research, not trying to FUD Solana, but you have to, face facts, if that is the case, potentially it could have a very, I mean, even if Pump.Fun gets hit again, that is a massive, massive. Let me actually go to Solana right now and I'll show you. So let's see, where are we at? Where is it at? You can go ahead. I'll search around for this.
Yeah, so it's like that needs to start happening. That hopefully, I mean, it's hard for a lot of lawyers to take on cases with crypto because it's difficult to understand, and so they don't. There's no case history, and so whoever would take a case against it is taking a huge risk that you're going to walk into a judge that's not going to even understand what you're talking about.
No, and that's a huge problem right now because I mean there is no precedent for crypto for the most part. But this is what I was talking about: is Pump.Fun 24-hour revenue is almost almost $1 million. It's making almost $1 million a day, and that's more than twice the next DEX that's on Solana. So if that goes away, I mean that is a massive, massive amount. Look, I mean you can see right here. This is Pump.Fun.
And so what do they do? So how do they generate? Is it just DeFi?
So basically, Pump.Fun is a meme coin launcher. Basically, you can mint and launch tokens. Like we're streaming on it right now, where you can to actually stream on it, we had to mint a token. We've
Okay.
told people don't buy it. We're not trying to do anything with the meme coin, but to stream, you had to mint one. But it's basically just it's a DEX. You can swap and do some other stuff on it. But yeah, I mean, basically that's for the most part all it is. And
It's basically like OnlyFans for crypto. It's just like here's
kind of, yeah.
Here's the prostitute of the
yeah, yeah. Pump.Fun's the red light district of crypto.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like that's why it makes so much money because everybody's on there gambling those things.
That's exactly what it was. Because when the first episode we did on there, we made like $200 in fees or something like that because everybody rushed in to buy the token. And as soon as something else shiny came along, they moved on to like it was like the next day they were on to something else. So yeah, it's just basically everybody, it's a bunch of squirrels running around chasing shiny objects, basically.
That's interesting. That is an interesting. I'm sure someone's figured out the math of like how you pump it and then make money and then pull.
Yeah. No, I'm not a huge fan of, I mean, anybody that's watched me more than 2 seconds. I think memes are a blight on crypto because it's a lot of people's, first experience. I mean, it was mine, with Shiba Inu. It was my first introduction into crypto. And, luckily, I didn't, put a massive amount of money into it and, lose everything. But that's what a lot of people do is, they jump in, they, put a bunch, they see it starting to pump and they think it's just going to keep pumping and they throw a bunch of money in and it just gets rug pulled. And
Yeah.
it used to be that it took a couple of weeks. It got to the point there for a while. I mean, it was hours, if not minutes, that things would just pump and dump. And unless you were like one of the first ones in or got the token before it even launched, you were exit liquidity. Because
Yeah.
as retail was buying in, everybody that got it pre-launch or that was able to somehow scalp it as it first launched, they were selling the whole time. The rest of retail was FOMOing in.
Yeah. And squirrels chasing nuts. That's very true. Like, and that the reality of the situation is like that. But that's how these things start off, and then you get wiser, and people figure out, okay, there's core actual things that actually do work. But I think most of these actual legitimate projects they claim are really just pump and dump schemes.
Oh, absolutely.
They're coming in and they're uh, trying their best to build something, but really on the inside they know, and so they pull it.
So let me ask you this. So what is it that, I mean, I always ask you this question, but what is it that you do to find crypto projects that you are, bullish on or that you believe in enough to put some of your liquidity into?
So actual value that in actual in the real world, like where it actually has value. I mean, Bitcoin has value because it is like the gold of crypto. It is the first project that was put to place, but ultimately it's the only really decentralized crypto that's out there. Because each one that they say, oh, it's decentralized, then behind the scenes they still control the code.
Mhm.
It's the one that there's, as far as we can tell, nobody out there controls this code.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, that's going to be the gold standard in the sense of, is anybody else going to really come out and make a product like that? I don't think so, because they're trying to get rich off of it. So, um, the Ethereum, of course, is the platform where everything's really built off of, all these smart contracts. So I
Mhm.
don't think Ethereum is going away. It's, of course, a problem with it are the costs and things like that with it, but it's still the system that everybody uses until something better comes along and puts it out. But everybody that's tried, then really when it gets into the other things, I'm really looking to see. I really haven't seen very many actual value systems. Like Kevin's the first one. Kevin and Jason were the first ones that when they started talking to me about it was like, here are two guys that are very good at what they do that are then now going to use crypto as the way to get money and not have to. Basically, before, litigation financing was only for rich people. uh, you had to be an accredited investor in order to invest in it. That's why you probably have never heard about it, because you had to have $1 million in investable assets for uh, a hedge fund or even a financial advisor to approach you to go, hey, you should look at this. And so, knowing how much money is made in law firms, I know how Jason and Kevin operate. I've hired them before on my own cases because they're so good at what they do. And it's one of those rare things where it's actual really good people at what they're doing. I mean, that would be the next kind of exciting thing to see, is to start seeing really well run businesses go to the crypto side and start using it, and then basically having the crypto be actual ownership in the company.
And that's kind of what I look for. I look for, first of all, companies that they are solving a pain point, or there's some sort of problem that they are solving or making better. Like with finance, you always had, illiquidity issues, being able to send value, over, large distances across, multiple jurisdictions, in a timely fashion. That's, the whole cross-border payment, issue where it takes 5 to 10 business days to, send money to another country or, do a wire transfer. That was kind of my introduction into, investing in projects that had to do with that. But, a lot of these crypto projects, I mean, stable coins, stable coins are a perfect example of, being able to send value instantly, across, cross borders. And, when I kind of came to the realization and kind of understood how all of this worked, that's why I sold XRP, was because a simple stable coin can do what it is, in a compliant stable coin, and
Yeah.
it has stable value. Whereas using a volatile asset like XRP, institutions and banks and governments, and they're not going to send large amounts of money that can fluctuate, with a volatile asset that can fluctuate even a fraction of a percent. You send $1 billion and it fluctuates 1% along the way. That's like what, $10 million, that you potentially could lose in a
Yeah.
transaction. That's not
And
going to work.
yeah.
So, and Ripple understands this. That's why they came out with RLUSD, their stable coin.
Yeah.
So, that's usually what I look for. And then again, like you said, some mechanism that gives, some sort of profit back to token holders. Seeing as it's not a security, there needs to be some way for, that value or that token to be deflationary, or, buybacks, something that not doesn't guarantee, but has the potential for price go up.
Yeah. And so like that's the real thing is the problem right now is most of these projects aren't not any real value. They're just, you know, recooking an old idea. Oh, we made it better. Okay. Well, guess what? Next year someone's gonna make it better than you.
Well, and a lot of them claim that they have solved problems and stuff like that. And, that was the whole speculative market that, we've been in the past in crypto. And then, now we're starting, people are starting to have to prove what they've been claiming. And, and institutions and banks are going to decide, by adoption, that
Yeah.
with technology, the key to any tech or any of these companies being successful is going to be adoption, and not rumors of adoption. It needs to be real companies building real projects, on these platforms, and using those platforms for that purpose. That is what is going, the ones that are going to survive are, or have a better potential of surviving, are going to be those projects.
Yeah. And really right now, everything pretty much everything out there is bearish.
Mm.
So I'm a trend investor. So I'm DeFiing only Ethereum and Bitcoin right now.
Mm.
And so I will wait to DeFi other things. I know the returns are a lot higher with other things because you can make a ton with uh, certain crypto that's out there, but you just wait until things go bullish and then do it.
Yeah.
Uh, when things are bearish, stay with things are more. I mean, if you want to keep DeFi, I am going to keep DeFiing because the math kind of works out for me. Going well, I understand it could come down, but if I can keep stacking while it comes down, then once it goes bullish again on the trend, then I'll get into the more riskier ones that have higher yields.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Strong projects that have higher yields. But I'm with you. I mean, I probably should have been a little more conservative and went into, I kind of see personally, Bitcoin being gold and Ethereum being silver. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see, ETH and Bitcoin, as far as, you know, not necessarily, direct correlation, obviously, but just that's kind of how I look at them. Is they're more I'm more sure of those two than I am of pretty much everything else as of right now, just because of what, again, what's being built and what's being adopted.
Yeah, so right now it's like just wait till the trends shift. If you're out there and you're getting into this right now, I mean, we we send out that newsletter, it will let you know. And just because it goes bullish first day, we usually wait to see that it's going to hold the trend, because something can go bullish trend and then the next day, like Ethereum did, it went bullish trend and then went back to neutral.
Mm-hmm.
It's hovering in neutral right now, which is it's usually a good sign. It hasn't gone back to bearish trend, but it needs to hit really for me to put a good amount of money in. I'm holding a lot of cash on the side. Once I see that, then I'll put more in.
So the newsletter that Taylor's talking about, this is the DeFi Wise newsletter, DeFi Wise with a Z. Every morning, Monday through Friday, except holidays, both me and him get up early in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock. It's usually out by 6 o'clock Pacific time. And basically this is what it looks like. And if you want to support the channel, this is a great way to do it, where you get some value, and it's only $19.95 a month, but you actually get some value out of it. We don't monetize the channel because I don't like that, because I kind of feel like that you're just paying for entertainment, whereas this, you're actually getting something for your money. So basically, we just go through. We give kind of the macro on what's going on in the crypto markets, what's going on in the TradFi markets.
So
This is
right
what
there,
Taylor.
so people understand, see where it says trend bias. See, both Bitcoin and Ethereum are neutral, and everything else is, of the major ones that we track are bearish. And so uh, once it goes bullish, you don't want to just jump in first day you see bullish, because it can go back. It can just bounce up into the trend being changed. But once you see it's holding, it's a good sign that both Bitcoin and Ethereum have held it neutral for a while. But still, it's usually you wait until the trend actually changes.
Yeah, yeah. You want confirmation. So you got key developments in crypto. Just kind of bulleted points on some of the high points in the news. The 3-month macro outlook on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just kind of a little bit of notes there. I give out some ranges on some of the more popular pools. Bitcoin, ETH. The reason that I picked this one is no matter what happens in this, you end up having exposure to both Bitcoin and ETH in a full range pool and in a ranged pool. So this is a great way to keep exposure. And before you invest in DeFi, please make sure, and especially ranged positions, make sure that you educate yourself on how it all works, because there's divergence loss and permanent loss, different things like that. But if you're bullish on these things long term and want to earn yield on your assets, this is a great way to do it. Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin and Aerodrome, two assets I'm very bullish on. Kind of why I picked this one. And then wrapped ETH USDC. This has been almost by far one of the best pools I've gotten into. It earns the best because there is a ton of swaps that happen between these assets. And then finally, we just kind of have some some different news off of X that we kind of cherry pick that. And this is what I was talking about with Aave, hostile takeover attempt. Aave Labs unilateral push to vote on brand rights proposal sparks community outcry, and this is why Aave took a dump today. They moved a proposal on brand asset control snapshot, escalating a debate that gripped the DAO for days. The proposal's author, former Aave CTO, has said the submission happened without his consent and breaks all codes of trust. Monday's dispute follows earlier tensions involving alleged stealth privatization and a series of proposals probing Aave Labs' stewardship and revenue alignment. So this is kind of why Aave took its dip today. So yeah, I mean, this is just something that, again, it gets delivered to your email, and also if you want to come to the website and you're a member, you can click on here and read it online. It's just a quick 5-10 minute read, while you're having your morning coffee, your morning tea, or whatever, your morning smoothie, and it gives you an idea of what's going on in the markets. So again, it's $19.95 a month. It's pretty much the only way that we really monetize the channel. So if you want to support the channel and get something for that money, this is a great way to do it.
Yep, and hopefully we can get there will be like a actual signal that will come out and tell you, okay, this following some strategies that have been used by hedge funds for a long time, this is when you should buy Bitcoin or Ethereum, and we'll get a good one out there. I mean, right now I'm using just a basic trend following one, and basically it's using option contracts and volatility to determine the range that things should trade in within a day. And when it's pretty accurate, it'll go. It'll fall.
Everybody that's been getting the newsletter, we had like one or two people cancel their subscription, but I think talking to people, it seems like it's more because they're just tight on money, and I get it. It's
well,
with the cost of living right now, it's $20 is $20,
and it's hard right now because really we're telling you not to invest.
Yeah, it's really hard when everything's when crypto's down and you have a lot of people capitulating too. I honestly, what I'm seeing right now is worse than the last bear market. As far as people capitulating and getting out of crypto, and I look at the analytics on our channel, quite a bit, and compared to other channels, we're actually holding pretty solid, but viewing is way down on crypto channels. It's insane.
The young generations who invest in crypto, and it really sucks for young people right now. Like, it's very hard. And so, when you're kind of in this environment of what's going on, but it's very promising right now what I'm seeing in the sense of holding up. I still believe that the government's going to pull a big rug pull on Bitcoin here in order for the government to get in, because I do think that they are going to use it as a way to prop up the balance sheet for the federal government.
They got to do something.
Yeah. And so, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you.
Well, get a hold of me. I know you're busy, but get a hold of me like here in the next couple of days. Let's do a little meeting, a call, and talk about ways to grow and scale some more value into the newsletter for everybody out there.
Yeah, and I'll get Jeff to see if he can see if it works for crypto the way it works for stocks, because he can back test the thing to see if it actually works.
Yeah.
And so we know it works with the S&P 500 and the Qs, and other major stock investments, but we'll see if it actually also works with crypto. And if it does, then that will be worth every penny, because he can give you the exact day. You'll get you need to get in right now.
Yeah, or get out.
Yeah, you need to get out right now.
Yeah. So, well, Taylor, I know you're busy and we're over time, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out. Anybody that's interested, again, if you need to get your will done or a trust or anything like that, and you're in Texas, you can get hold of the Willingham Law Firm, WG Law, and they'd be happy to help you. And if you are interested, I'll be going on here in about an hour. I'll be going on Mario Newfall and be talking about prediction markets, crypto prediction markets. So basically crypto gambling, where you can bet on if it's going to snow on Christmas, or if the Eagles are going to win the next game or whatever. So we'll be talking about that.
All righty.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Taylor. Thank you, everybody out there. Stan, Deadwood, DeFi Don, DCA and Prey, all the crew. And until next time, Veteran Crypto out.